Hello everyone, it's Miss Sheila from the Bloomfield Public Library, and I want you to see what I have in my hand. What is it? It's a rope, right. And the reason I have this rope is because for our global read aloud, the Jacqueline Woodson book I'm going to be reading is called This is the Rope, and it's a story from the Great Migration. And I told you it's written by Jacqueline Woodson, and it's illustrated by James Ransom. So I want to read her dedication, because she says, this book is dedicated to the more than 6 million African Americans who left the unjust conditions of the South for a better life in the North, from the early 1900s until the 1970s. My mother and grandmother were among them. I thank you all for your courage and for making a way out of no way. And that was written by Jacqueline Woodson. That's her dedication. So this is the story of a rope that her grandma and then her mother used. So this is the rope my grandmother found beneath an old tree a long time ago back home in South Carolina. And this is the rope that my grandfather used to tie the few things they owned to the top of a car that drove my grandmother, who was a mother now, from South Carolina all the long way to a place called New York City. The rope is here, tying the luggage on. And this is the rope my grandmother held tight to as my grandfather drove real slow past the people and the big city buildings that seemed to go on and on. This is the rope my grandmother used to dry the sweet-smelling flowers she grew in small window boxes, reminding her of the flowers back home, where the land, she said, went on and on. And this is the rope my grandfather strung so that my mama's diapers could blow dry in the hot city breeze. You see the diapers up there? And this is the rope my mama tied around a small ducky's neck and then pulled it along, singing quack, quack, quack. And this is the rope my mama held out to the girls on the block, her new Brooklyn block, a home of their own that they finally owned. Mama asked shyly, anybody want to play? And this is the rope my mama first tripped on as she sang with her friends. Miss Lucy had a baby, she named him Tiny Tim. And this is the rope Mama's brothers took from her room for some crazy game that little boys play. This is the rope my mama found again 10 years later when my grandfather said, we need a bit of rope to tie these things down inside this here car, like that rope we used to have from back home. And then he drove with my mama off to college, far away from the city, while up at the window, my grandmother waved. And this is the rope my mama placed on the piano around the family photos and me, just a baby, and then a bit bigger, always reaching for it. This is the rope my daddy used when he showed me the way to tie a sailor's knot. 2 times around and pull it real tight. You want whatever you make or do in your life, my daddy said, to last. And this is the rope my mama turned as she waved to my daddy and taught me to sing the Miss Lucy song out on our sidewalk right here in Brooklyn. just last Friday night. And this is the rope that held up the sign saying, "We are all family" at our picnic reunion in the big park up the street from our home. And this is the rope, this one here, you can see it, that her grandma's holding. Threadbare and graying, that I traded with Grandma for a new one, a brand new one. And then I jumped a new jump. My name is Beatrice. I come from Brooklyn. And as my family smiled proudly and the sun began setting, Grandma held on to her rope from back home. And her long ago memory of sweet smelling pines. And that's the end. And in the beginning of this book, I'm not going to read this to you, but this tells about her mother coming to New York City. She tells the story here if you want to read it. So look how far that rope went and how long it lasted. It came from South Carolina and it went to New York City. And it lasted all those years from when her grandmother was a little girl until when the author was a little girl. And they used it for all sorts of things. Jumping rope, tying things onto the car to keep them up there, using it as decoration, playing games with it. So just think, a rope is such a simple thing, but it can be so important in someone's life. You have a nice week and we'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.